We begin in the Middle East. The United States says it's working to prevent the conflict between Israel and the Lebanese group Hezbollah from escalating into a regional war after Sunday's heavy bombardments. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has called for an immediate end to hostilities on both sides. In a televised address, Hezbollah's Secretary-General Hassan Nasrallah said that the delay in the retaliation attack for the assassination of its military commander last month was to keep Israel on edge. He also said they still have to assess the impact of its barrage and did not rule out another strike. From Tel Aviv, Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel's airstrikes were not the end of the story and added they had destroyed thousands of Hezbollah's short-range rockets. And no progress on the Gaza ceasefire talks in Cairo either. Hamas, which has now left the Egyptian capital, said it rejected new Israeli conditions and accused them of backtracking on promises. Israel denies changing its demands since a last round of talks in early July. Well, for more on this, we can speak to our Middle East correspondent in Beirut, Hugo Bachega. So, Hugo, we heard that Hezbollah isn't ruling out further attacks. Benjamin Netanyahu saying it's not the end of the story. Where are we?
Yeah, I think it was very interesting that last night the powerful leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, gave that speech. Essentially, he said that the attack was over, the retaliation for the killing of thwart, the senior Hezbollah commander who was assassinated by Israel here in Beirut a month ago. And Hassan Nasrallah also said that, gave indications that no major operations against Israel were being planned. So I think he was trying to de-escalate tensions with Israel. Yesterday there were concerns that those attacks could lead to a major conflict between Hezbollah and Israel. We've seen that so far this violence has been relatively contained to areas along the Lebanon-Israel border. Nasrallah did say that the group could attack Israel again, but given everything else in the speech, I think this seemed to be something that had to be said rather than a threat against Israel. And the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also yesterday said that what happened was not the end of the story. And again, I don't think it's surprising that he's saying it. He needs to keep all his options on the table. He's under a lot of pressure to act against Hezbollah, to allow the return of tens of thousands of residents who've been displaced from communities in northern Israel. But behind the scenes, there have been indications that both sides have said they're not interested in further escalation. Obviously, this doesn't mean that the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel is over. But again, we're seeing indications that they're not interested in a major conflict that could have catastrophic consequences, not only for Lebanon, but also for Israel. And the main hope of a de-escalation here is a ceasefire deal in Gaza. And we've seen that the latest round of talks for a deal in Cairo ended yesterday without a major breakthrough.
So what's the state of alert there then, Hugo, in light of the recent events?
Yeah, so for weeks we've been waiting for this response by Hezbollah, and there were concerns that this could lead to a major escalation, and there have been fears here in Lebanon that Hezbollah could be dragging this country into another confrontation with Israel. Many people here still remember what happened in 2006, the war between Hezbollah and Israel, the devastation caused by the conflict, not only to areas of southern Lebanon, but also to parts of southern Beirut. And many people, fear that history might be repeating itself. It seems now that, worst case scenario has been averted, at least for now. There have been these indications from Hassan Nasrallah that the group is not interested in an escalation of these hostilities with Israel. And even in Israel, we're seeing that there have been some signs that, the Israeli government is also trying to prevent prevent a major escalation with Hezbollah. But again, there has been a lot of anger from residents in the north of the country. They say that they have been under attack almost every day with rockets being fired from Hezbollah, and they've been urging the Israeli authorities to do something to push Hezbollah away from the border and to allow the return of tens of thousands of people who have had to flee their homes in northern Israel because of this violence happening along the border.
Okay, Hugo Bachega in Beirut, thank you very much. Well, for more, let's speak to Yossi Beline, former Justice Minister of Israel and one of the initiators of Israel-Palestine Oslo peace accords. Thanks very much for your time here on BBC News. Let's pick up with those peace talks then. In light of what's happened, is there any chance of those talks having a positive outcome?
Yes, I believe that Israel doesn't want to continue this war. It is really long overdue. And I hope that this is also the situation on the Hamas side. The point is that it is not peace talks, of course. It is talks about a ceasefire, hopefully a long ceasefire. And the other side is not recognizing Israel. Israel is not recognizing Hamas, of course. And to get to the decision makers on the other side is very difficult. So what you hear is rumors from time to time, or a declaration of one of the Hamas people, but the groups are there. I mean, the teams are there negotiating still. And I hope that it will end by an agreement. This agreement is not going to be an historic one, but it will put an end at least to the current situation whereby innocent people are killed, and you don't see any horizon.
The US is saying it's working to prevent any conflict escalating. What can they do to move on these peace talks?
Well, they are doing a lot. They are actually the main player, not the only one, because you have Qatar and you have Egypt, but it is a very important player. And I think that they can push the parties directly, indirectly. They have their own ways. And I hope that eventually reason will prevail. And it would be possible to put an end to it. I mean, we are there in a kind of an ongoing war from September, October, the massacre of Hamas in the southern side of a part of Israel. And nobody is gaining anything from this war, just losing.
We know, obviously, the elections in the United States are coming up. Presumably, Netanyahu will be watching those closely.
And
I was just saying that with the elections in the US coming up, Netanyahu will presumably be watching those very closely to see what happens.
Yeah, but I don't think that this is going to have any direct impact. First of all, the elections are very close, but the 20th of January is further. And we have to put an end to this situation much before. I think that waiting for the 20th of January, and hopefully Netanyahu's candidate will not win. But even if he wins, I think that waiting for him is a kind of betting, because you never know with this person. I mean, Trump, of course. What is he going to do? What is he going to say? He may surprise the world this way or another, if God forbid he is elected. And and if it is, as I hope, Kamala Harris, it will be the same kind of a policy, like the current policy of President Biden.
OK, we'll have to leave it there. Yossi Beline, thank you very much for your time here on BBC News.